Is it worth the hype? Personally, I have never read a book series like this, ever, in my life.
Oh, like ever.
If you're new here, hi, I am Rachel. I went on a quest in 2024 to find my first 5-star read, and let me tell you what I found did not disappoint. I found this particular book recommendation off of TikTok, and I was a little bit hesitant because in the past, some of the recommendations from TikTok have been completely unhinged, which, you know what, I'm always here for a good unhinged book. I decided to check it out first so that you didn't have to scour the internet lands for a 5-star fantasy book. So what is this mystical 5-star fantasy book that I discovered? It's actually a duology called the Shepherd King series by Rachel Gillig. And the first book in this series is called One Dark Window. I don't know if you've heard of it. When I found it, I hadn't heard of it at all before. This book kind of gave Game of Thrones mixed with Gothic Bridgerton, mixed with even a little bit of Hunger Games. And that seems like a really odd mixture, but honestly, it just fucking works. Plus, there was massive enemies to lovers, which you know I'm always game for.
Flipping pages and taking names, sis.
In the first book, we meet and follow around Elsbeth Spindle, the female main character, on her journey to right the past wrongs of her kingdom. Elsbeth is the daughter of Eric Spindle, who is actually a well-known retired captain of the Deserters. And I hope I'm saying Deserters right. Here's the thing about people who read the physical copy or Kindle edition. I don't have Audible. I don't have the pronunciations in my ears. So if I mispronounce something, just bear with me. The Deserters are basically the military within this kingdom, and their sole job is to keep the sick away from the kingdom and serve the king. Elsbeth has a secret though, one that no one can know and one that she doesn't even really understand herself. I really like the way that the author portrayed this deep secret that Elsbeth has been living with, because it kind of gives us this mystery vibe, and we're trying to kind of piece together the parts of the puzzle that aren't quite adding up during the beginning of this book, which I really enjoy. It really keeps my brain stimulated as I'm reading and keeps me really captivated in the story. The magical system in this series is unlike anything I have ever read about before, and I have read so many fantasy novels and fantasy series. The magical system was intriguing, it was deep, it was totally different. A lot of times in the fantasy realm, especially lately in the past few years, I feel like you pick up a fantasy book and you read it and it's like, okay, I know who this author had as writing idols. A lot of the books lately in the fantasy realm have felt like the same book that we're reading, and like, I'm not bitching about it because I love fantasy no matter what. I love all of the mainstream books for the most part, and so I'm always gonna read them, but one of the things that I really enjoy as a reader is picking up a book and not knowing exactly where it's gonna go or exactly which way it's gonna go. And when I was reading One Dark Window, it was 100% like that. I had no idea where it was going. In the kingdom and within the magical system, they have 12 Providence cards. Each one of these cards holds magic. And it's kind of like a playing card mixed with a tarot card. I guess that's what I was visualizing while I was reading about these Providence cards. When a person has this card and they tap it 3 times, they are able to wield the magic that is imbued in the specific card. And each one of the cards has different magic imbued into it. But in this magical system, when you use any of these 12 Providence cards, wielding the magic comes with a cost. And it actually creates degeneration. Degeneration in each wielder, each person is totally different than it might be for the next. So if I was using one of these Providence cards and you were using one of the Providence cards, the way that the degeneration is going to impact you and your body is going to be totally different than the way it impacts me and my body, which also kept it really interesting. The second book in this series is just as good, if not better. And that also does not happen very often in fantasy series. Usually it's like, it's the same vibe or it's worse. Not Rachel Gillig. No ma'am, she literally said, I'm gonna do it better than I did it the first time around, and she fucking did. She did. The second book is called Two Twisted Crowns. Another thing that I really loved about this series too is that a lot of times, especially with fantasy series, I feel like they can just run on forever. But after reading the second book, which is the last book of this series, I felt so complete. My questions were answered. I didn't leave with any like massive cliffhangers. It just really felt complete to me. And of course, I just love her writing and I love her imagination as a writer when it comes to magical systems. So I would have been there if it was a 12-book series, but at the end of Two Twisted Crowns, it just felt solid. It felt complete. And I also really appreciated that because I feel like so many writers, especially right now in the fantasy realm, just keep writing and keep writing and keep writing. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, we can complete a series. It's just as beautiful to complete a series as it is to have it run on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, so instead of dragging out the freaking series just to drag it out just for the hell of it, she completed it and it felt so solid and it felt like such a good conclusion to the story. So I was so impressed by the second book. I can't even tell you the last time that I read a series as good as this one and as complete as this one. Like, I felt so fulfilled and complete after reading the second book. Personally, my favorite aspect of this entire series was the diverse magical system. Like I said, I have never read any other books or series or fantasy novels remotely close to this magical system. It was something brand new for me. Rachel Gillig gave us so much information on the magical system and it just made sense to me. She also went really deep with behind the scenes of how the magical system was actually created. And again, I feel like that's just something that a lot of fantasy series and fantasy authors don't necessarily do. They don't give us the behind the scenes when it was first invented, right? It's just like teaching us what the magical system is, but there's not that backstory as much. The way that the magical system was actually created was so beautiful to learn about and also completely heartbreaking at the same time. There was so much duality in this book and in this world, and the way that Rachel wrote this series, just so much depth and duality, happiness and sadness, and just, oh, it gave me all the feels. I have read a lot of fantasy in my life, but this has to be one of my all-time favorite series. It honestly just raised the bar when it comes to world building and magical systems. She did in 2 books what most fantasy authors can't even do in 5 or more.
Mic drop.
I had so many emotions while I was reading this book. I was crying, I was laughing, I was like devastated. The author did an incredible job of giving us the depth in each one of the characters' background stories as well. And that also is something that I don't always see in fantasy series. Well, now that you know all the details on the Shepherd King series, you'll have to check it out if it sounded interesting to you. Also, come back and let me know what your thoughts are. And if you've already read this book, let me know your thoughts in the comments too, because like I said, I have never read anything like this, so I need people to talk to about this. My bestie hasn't read it yet, and I'm so excited for her to read it, but let's chat in the comments about this because it was so interesting, so good. Setting just totally a new standard for 5-star books in my life. I'm so happy that you're here. Don't forget to subscribe if you would like to be a part of my booktube community. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoy that book series if you end up reading it. I will catch you in the next video.
Also, ignore my nails. I told everybody in my community, like, look at my nails right now, I need to go get them done, so ignore these. But I was like, driving in my car, and I'm like, why am I only missing these 2 nails on not every single hand, because I only have 2. On both hands, I'm like, oh girl, it's because I'm flipping those pages too quick. I'm just fast as fuck when it comes to reading, I'm flipping pages. Flipping pages and taking names, sis. So that's been my joke for this week. Okay. Believe it or not, I haven't even had caffeine today, so I'm just like high on life. It do be like that sometimes.